Good morning, and thank you for joining us here. I'm Chief Paco Balderrama, and I wanted to clarify a few things in light of recent incidents that happened this last weekend. So, in an attempt to protect everyone's constitutional rights here in the city of Fresno, I've had a meeting with Mr. Benjamin Martin. I've also discussed this at length with our legal advisor and also with District Attorney Lisa Smitkamp. And what my goal is to protect the rights of every individual here in Fresno who wants to assemble, who wants to have the freedom of speech, who wants to protest. And that is something that we are 100% for. What we are not for is for the violation of state laws, including trespassing, harassment, intimidation, and disorderly conduct. I've been in contact with the mayor as well, and obviously you guys are aware of the information that was put out yesterday in advising local businesses what their rights are. So keep in mind that we are trying to balance individuals' constitutional rights with businesses' rights to be able to participate in commerce and help the economy and obviously make money, which is part of what we do here in the United States. So moving forward, as it was detailed yesterday, if there is a person who enters a business and they are not wearing a mask, they can be asked by that manager, that store owner, to leave the premises. If that person refuses to leave the premises after being asked, that store owner or manager can call the Fresno Police Department, and we will respond and we will ask that person to leave. We will always afford an individual the opportunity to leave if they're not following the policies of that particular establishment. If they refuse to leave, that person can and will be arrested for trespassing. Again, I've just gotten off the phone with the district attorney, and she will accept those charges under these circumstances. Additionally, I was very detailed with Mr. Martin yesterday in our meeting. We met for about an hour yesterday evening, and I basically detailed what their rights were. And again, they have the right to assemble. They have the right to protest. They have the right to freedom of speech. They do not have the right to impede ingress and egress of a certain establishment. They cannot block the doors. They cannot intimidate customers. If there is a family trying to enter a store and there are two opposing groups and they're yelling at each other, obviously that's a circumstance where that can be intimidating for them. So that's not something that anyone should tolerate. They also cannot vandalize. They cannot assault anyone, and they cannot impede the traffic, the normal flow of traffic, unless they have a permit to march or protest. So again, this is something that the police department really doesn't want to interfere with anyone's constitutional rights. But we have to keep the peace. We have to keep order. We have to protect the rights of all individuals, and that's what we intend to do. So I have pleaded with Mr. Martin, and we had a great conversation, and it was very cordial, and we actually agreed on a lot of things. But I did ask him not to create a situation where the police department has to respond. This last Saturday, on a very busy day, basically half of our district, or Northwest District, was out there at one of the stores, and really we were focused on that, on the protest, instead of being out in the city of Fresno proactively enforcing the law and trying to reduce our violent crime. So that is really what I would like to focus on as a chief of police, is to make the city safe and not focus on protests or people's liberties. Now, I do want to clarify one thing. In the incident that occurred on Saturday, Mr. Martin was detained. He was temporarily arrested. Upon looking at the legal complexities of that particular incident, and because he wanted to press charges on the store itself, we went ahead and unarrested him and released him in the field and documented the incident. So that doesn't really change, whether charges can be filed in the future, but moving forward, there will be an arrest, and we will try to do a field release. But if the individuals refuse to leave the establishment, or if we offer to basically release them in the field with just a citation, but they're going to remain in the establishment causing problems, well, then that's not going to remedy the problem. So they will have to be transported to the county jail. So just wanted to clarify that on the incident that occurred on Saturday, and wanted to lay out our stipulations moving forward. And with that being said, are there any questions?
How about the issue of like trying to make a citizen's arrest of a manager who's just trying to enforce store policy?
Well, there has to be a violation of the law for us to accept a citizen's arrest. So if there is not a violation of the law, we would document the incident. We would just move forward.
Was Mr. Martin arrested or not arrested?
Yeah, he was arrested. He was detained temporarily, and then we did a process called an 849B, which is still something new to me. Basically, upon review of the totality of the circumstances, we thought it best to just document the incident and unarrest him. So technically speaking, he was not arrested.
Was he cited?
He was not cited.
Was Mr. Martin in violation of his probation?
I don't have any information about his probation, what probation he has. So I can't really speak on that. Any other questions?
So going forward, though, the department will arrest someone if they are. What would have to happen for someone to be arrested?
Well, if somebody goes into an establishment and they either cause a scene, act disorderly, intimidate any of the customers, if they refuse to comply with the store's rules, so if their policy is that they will wear a mask and they refuse to do that, they're going to be asked to leave. And again, they're going to be afforded the opportunity to leave. That would be best for everyone, right? But if they refuse to do so, we have to take action. You know, we can't, as a police department, just allow these type of disturbances to take place. And again, we want to be very cautious with it, and that's why I'm standing here before you today. We want to be cautious that we protect people's civil liberties, rights to protest, and I believe that we're doing that. But we also have to be responsible and fair with the store owners as well.
Are these groups allowed to set up tables on the side?
As long as they're not impeding the ingress and egress, if it's in a public sidewalk, common area, they can do that. They can do that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with setting that up and educating the public. I mean, we see various groups do this type of thing. You know, Girl Scouts, you know, selling cookies, things like that. That's something that's permissible. But it does become a violation of the law if they are harassing customers, if they are intimidating customers, and I don't believe that's what Mr. Martin and his group want to do. So I've asked them to follow these guidelines, so we avoid issues. And really, Mr. Martin and his group really claim to be very pro-police. So I'm asking him to be pro-police in the sense that they allow us to focus on violent crime and not have to respond to these types of incidents. But obviously, if that's not the case, if they choose to continue harassing customers or refusing to leave when they don't want to follow the policies, then we have to take action.
How about the issue of officers taking pictures with those that may be involved in the protest? And I understand,
Right.
you know, people like to take pictures with officers, but
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that, you know, could be a problem if side doesn't like it, or kind of just, I mean, your officers are there to be neutral and enforce the law, right?
They are, and keep in mind that the officers try to be friendly and keep the peace and build rapport with anybody, right? I mean, again, I met with Mr. Martin yesterday. We had a great conversation, almost an hour. I didn't take any pictures with him, and I didn't post them on social media because I don't want to give the appearance that I'm for or against a certain group. I'm for everyone here in Fresno, and I'm here to protect everyone's rights. And I believe this is the best approach moving forward in protecting everyone's rights, including the protesters. And I also feel that, or I know that I have the backing of of City Hall, city councilors, the mayor, and the district attorney.
Following your meeting with Mr. Martin, are you confident this may not be an issue again, or what do you come away with?
I hope it isn't. He and I have a good understanding, and he does want to be supportive of law enforcement. So I believe that there's a way that he and his group can exercise their constitutional rights without infringing on the rights of others. And I believe there's a way to do that, and I hope he heeds my advice to not individuals, to not impeding doorways, to not refuse to leave if he's asked to leave. But obviously, time will tell.
Who called the officers out in the first place?
I don't know who called them out. I believe it was the store.
Is it against the law to not wear a mask in a store? I mean, I understand the governor has put out some things saying you have to wear a mask. So how does that work? Can you cite someone for not wearing
Well, we can ask somebody to leave. No, it's not against, obviously there's a statewide mandate. We're not enforcing that. We're not enforcing that. If an individual chooses to walk into a miscellaneous store with no shoes and no shirt, and the management doesn't like that, they have a store policy that you will wear both, then you can be asked to leave, right? And if you refuse to leave, then you're trespassing. So let's make the distinction here. They're not being cited for not wearing a mask. They're being cited for refusing to leave after the management has asked them to do that.
Are the kids group on Saturday being accused of blocking or impeding the doorways?
I didn't see that. I didn't see any of that. I saw that there was a booth, a table, off to the side. I do believe they were trying to educate people, but let me paint a scenario for you. What I also saw was two opposing groups yelling at each other, at the entrance of a store. Now, would that be intimidating for some people? I would say yes. I don't think it's a far stretch to say, yeah, that's intimidating to walk between two groups that are yelling at each other. Okay, so again, we want to protect the constitutional rights of everybody involved, but we also have to protect those individuals who have the right to go in and shop if they want to. If they're following the rules, they should have that opportunity.
Chief, can you, I know switching gears, can you talk about the two officers allegedly with COVID, one of them allegedly critical condition?
Well, all I can tell you is that obviously our police department has been affected by this disease, and luckily through the efforts of a lot of individuals here in the county, it looks like we will start hopefully registering for vaccines for my police officers at the first week of February. We've lost an officer, and that's a tough pill to swallow. And then we do have two officers who are currently hospitalized. We're praying for them. We're checking on their families, and we're hoping for the best.
What was DA's response when you brought this issue?
Well, her response was that we went through the letter of the law and spoke about several different scenarios, and everything that I'm describing to you right now. If we have to cite somebody, arrest somebody for that, she will accept those charges as state charges.
Chief, you also had,
This will be the last question, and we'll be going to Spanish after this.
Chief, you also had officers at another protest this past weekend at Tower Theater. What was the purpose of their presence there?
You know what? I haven't been briefed on that particular protest. We've been focused on this one because it was more of an issue, so I'd have to follow up on that. I'll take a couple more.
Can you remind the public what the consequences are of trespassing?
Well, it's a state misdemeanor, and I don't have the penal code in front of me, but it's serious enough to where you can be arrested and taken to jail. Now, let me be clear on this: is that's the last resort. We don't want to take people to jail routinely right now during COVID. We will afford them every opportunity to leave, to stop the illegal action. We will do that, but obviously, if they're going to remain there and continue causing problems, then we'll be forced to make the arrest.
And that does have to be a bit frustrating because it's a situation that can be remedied by both parties, and then you guys are going to have to go out and deal with that as opposed to dealing with what's going on there.
Well, all things considered, I think we're bending over backwards to try to accommodate everybody. We really are, because this shouldn't have to be a police matter. Somebody exercising their constitutional rights should not be an incident or a situation where the police have to get involved. But obviously, during a time when I really want to focus on violent crime, on reducing shootings and homicides, this is something that we're having to deal with on a weekly basis. So that's unfortunate.
Can you comment on the status of the investigation of this email that was sent to Jeremy Hansen of the Painted Table?
I don't know anything about that. I'll have to get back to you on that. All right, we're going to do Spanish now.
Bueno, jefe, si me puede decir la razón por la que hoy estamos hablando sobre esto, ¿no? Háblame sobre los incidentes que ocurrieron durante esta semana.
Sí, entonces este fin de semana tuvimos un incidente en una tienda donde básicamente varios protestantes fueron a ese lugar para básicamente educar al público. Entonces parte de su demostración era entrar a la tienda sin mascarilla, sin cubrebocas. Esa tienda tiene una póliza que obviamente, como cualquier otra póliza, como no traer playera o no traer zapatos, es una póliza que tiene ese negocio. Entonces, después que les pidieron que se taparan la boca, no lo hicieron. Entonces les pidieron que se fueran y no quisieron de tal manera. Entonces eso es algo que le llamamos trespassing, cuando una persona que está en control de un lugar, donde sea, que no es público, pero obviamente si no sigue las reglas de ellos, le pueden pedir que se vaya. Entonces esa persona no quisieron hacer eso. Y es el asunto que estamos hablando hoy día, que obviamente la gente tiene sus derechos de constitución para asemblarse, para hablar de cual tema que quieran, pero también esos negocios tienen el derecho de hacer su negocio.
¿Cuáles son unos de esos derechos, si me los puede mencionar, de los negocios que tienen y el rol que ustedes están tomando como autoridad para proteger a ambos lados?
Entonces ellos tienen sus pólizas que si quieren entrar a su domicilio para hacer de compras, tienen que seguir ciertas reglas. Entonces este negocio tiene la regla que tiene que tener tapabocas. Entonces si esa persona no se quiere tapar la boca, usar una mascarilla, ellos tienen el derecho de pedirles que se vayan. Si la persona no se quiere ir, eso es trespassing. Entonces, obviamente toda persona tiene sus derechos de constitución, pero también los negocios tienen su derecho de hacer su negocio.
¿Qué tan grave es este delito?
Bueno, no es un delito grave, pero obviamente cuando el Departamento de Policía tiene que enfocarse en varios recursos para encargarse de este asunto, es difícil, porque realmente queremos estar enfocados en el crimen violento. Y si parte de mi distrito de Northwest está ocupado en este incidente, no estamos reduciendo los números de los balaceos y de los homicidios.
Dice que la fiscal estuvo en contacto con ella y van a presentar cargos para las personas que sigan.
Bueno, si esto ocurre en el futuro, tengo el apoyo de ella y sí, si tenemos que arrestar a una persona, ella va a aceptar esos cargos.
La última pregunta, ¿cuál es el enfoque? Me dice que usted su deber es proteger a ambos lados, no está de parte de uno o del otro.
Realmente no, nosotros queremos proteger esos derechos de cualquier persona. Si se quieren asemblar, si quieren marchar por una causa, nosotros estamos de acuerdo con eso, pero lo que no tienen es que no tienen el derecho de intimidar a la gente, de impedir que personas entren o salgan de una tienda o de no irse si les piden que se vayan.
¿Habrá multas? Si me puede explicar un poco bien el rol que ustedes van a tomar en esto.
Sí, pueden haber multas. Si la persona no se quiere ir, pueden ser arrestadas. En este punto no queremos arrestar a personas por casos menores como este, pero si no se van a ir de ese lugar, si van a seguir haciendo problemas, nosotros tenemos que actuar.
Por último, el mensaje para toda la comunidad.
Podemos balancear los derechos de constitución con los derechos que tienen los negocios aquí en la ciudad de Fresno. Gracias. Thanks, guys.